Hey, welcome everybody to Trend Talks Threat Research, episode 23. I'm your host, Jon Clay, VP of Threat Intelligence at Trend Micro. And I'm happy to announce that we published today a research that is done by Omdia. Every year we have Omdia do a research report that looks at the quantifying the public vulnerability market. What that means essentially is that we look at a number of vendors that are discovering and disclosing or supporting the disclosure of vulnerabilities for a year. This is looking back at 2024 and the vulnerability disclosures that are done. So what they do is they take a look at this. They look at a bunch of the vendors. In this case are Checkpoint, Cisco, Fortinet, Google, McAfee, or Trellix, Microsoft Security Research, Palo Alto Networks, the Trend Micro Trend Zero Day Initiative, US CERT, and In the Wild. In the Wild's a new one that we put in there to see how many of these CVEs that are published in the past year were basically put in the wild or used in the wild. And I wanted to give you some thoughts on this. Again, we published this. You can find a page on the Trend Micro website, link to that, so you can get a view of the report. But a couple of things I wanted to highlight on the results of this. First and foremost, a lot of the vendors did pretty good, although Trend Micro came in first, Trend Micro's Zero Day Initiative, with 73.54% of all the vulnerabilities found or disclosed in 2024 were done through the Zero Day Initiative. Number two was Cisco, Talos, and then Microsoft, and then Palo Alto Networks. So 13.75% for Cisco, just over 9% for Microsoft, and the others were all under 2%. So obviously what this is showing is the leadership that the Zero Day Initiative is bringing to the table. The other aspect is what they look at is criticality. And that's an interesting one to look at because Cisco actually came out and came with the most critical vulnerabilities. So they did a very good job last year of identifying, discovering, and disclosing critical vulnerabilities. And then the Zero Day Initiative led the charge for high severity, medium severity, and low severity vulnerabilities. So pretty much dominated that one. But you can see in the case of the Zero Day Initiative, they managed about just over 1,000 vulnerabilities. Cisco did 200, Microsoft 132, Palo Alto's 26. Google Project Zero was 22. In the wild was 5, but that's a bit of a misnomer. I think if you go to the Google Project Zero website, they actually have a link for what they have found in the wild, and it usually is around 40 or 50 vulnerabilities that they link to that are in the wild. So I would recommend going to their site to look for that if you're interested in that. One of the reasons we have done this report for many years, in fact, the Zero Day Initiative was formed in 2005, and its mission is at the start was to ensure that vulnerabilities researchers have a place to get paid for their efforts. So what we do as part of the Zero Day Initiative is it's a bug bounty program, an agnostic bug bounty program, which means we don't care what vendors' bugs get submitted to us. The researchers will find a bug, submit it to the Zero Day Initiative. We pay them different amounts for different types of bugs, depending on severity and what they are for. And then what we do is we take over at that point and we work with the affected vendors. And we help them by giving them all the information that they should need to be able to create a patch. We give them 120 days to publish a patch, and which then fixes that bug. The challenge that sometimes we have is some vendors don't support that 120-day, or they may not think the bug is an actual bug. We try to do as much as we can to ensure that they have that information, and we are pretty rigorous in terms of why we state that it's a bug. But if they don't fix it, then we take it upon ourselves to actually publish and disclose the bug itself, because we feel that the general public needs to know about that bug. So we call those zero-day bugs, zero-day disclosures. And we have quite a few of those every year, unfortunately. But we also, that makes sure that we put their feet to the fire, right? Because in many cases, when we tell them we're going to disclose anyway, they automatically come up with a bug or a patch to fix the bug. So that's part of the role that we take on and responsibility we take on to ensure that these vendors stay true to themselves, that they actually patch the bugs that we submit to them. So, this really helps out the world. All these vendors are supporting the world to make it more safe by helping with disclosing these bugs. Prime example of what's going on is currently with the Microsoft SharePoint bug that's in the wild, and it's been utilized to gain access to a lot of networks already, unfortunately. But that bug, there's actually two bugs associated with that. They were actually found at the Pawn to Own event in Berlin this year. Pawn to Own is an event that the Zero Day Initiative puts on, a couple of them every year. It's a hacking event. We invite these vulnerability researchers and their teams to come to different locations around the world. And what they do is they will showcase their bug with an exploit. So they are successfully able to pawn the machine, which means they were able to utilize that exploit of a vulnerability to get access to the machine or the device, depending on what we're looking. Because we look at automotive, we do IoT, industrial IoT, we do Berlin was in applications, commercial applications, as well as AI. They actually found 7 AI bugs during that event. But this SharePoint bugs were found at the event by a third-party team. What happens at that point is they go into another room with Microsoft and share all the information so that Microsoft can publish a patch. In this case, they did publish a patch back in earlier in July, and unfortunately that patch did not fix everything, and there was some limitations with the patch. So the adversaries were unfortunately able to take advantage of that, and they were able to craft some new exploits that allowed them to get access to the SharePoint servers. These are on-premise SharePoint servers that are connected to the internet, or they are running internal if they were able to get access internal network, and then they were able to get access to these internal SharePoint servers as well, if that's the case. But the thing that we do on the backside of identifying and getting access to these bugs is that we in turn then develop what we call virtual patches. They're IPS rules that go into the Trend Micro Tipping Point product, which is a network-based IPS solution that we have, piece of hardware. And we actually published virtual patches quite early in the process, even before the patch was available by Microsoft in their July Patch Tuesday. This allowed our customers to be protected quite early. And in fact, in 2024, we averaged about 90 days, 94 days to be exact, of pre-disclosure virtual patches for our customers. So they were protected from an exploit of the patch almost 3 months ahead of the public patch being disclosed. So, but again, this report from Omdia is one of many that have gone on. So I mentioned the Zero Day Initiative. It's our 20th anniversary. They formed in 2005. They started actually doing this test and this research back in 2007. And every year they have led the number of disclosures by the vendors that have been participating in this. And that So the Cisco's, Microsoft's, Palo Altos of the world, who have been around for a long time doing IPS and bug discovery and disclosure. So we kind of dominate that area, and we're kind of happy to see that, why we published this research report today. But take a look at it. I'll link to the page where you can get access to the report from Omdia, and it shares a lot of information, more detailed information than what I have shared today. But I wanted to get that information to you about that. Thanks for joining me today on episode 23 of Trend Talks Threat Research. I'll be back in a couple of weeks to share another research report that Trend Micro has published. Give you a heads up, it's probably going to be our AI report that we're going to be republished, first half review of what went on in AI for the first half of the year. So take a look at that when it comes out. Anyway, everybody, thanks for joining me. Have a great day. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk soon. Bye-bye.